They gave me 500 each, and my commission on that total sale was $250. I did that a total of 4 times that day. I made $1,000 in a day talking, saying words. And that's when I realized that if you just know what words to say and you know how to say them, you can literally make the world bend to your will. All right, that might sound a little villainous, but you can at least make money.
Alrighty, welcome everybody. Welcome back to another episode of $1 Million Secrets. My name is Michael Tucker and I am your host. I am so excited because today we have somebody in the studio, the virtual studio, I should say, that I've actually been following for several years since I've kind of ventured into making money online. And this guy, I want to say, is the best of the best at what he knows. And this guy, listen, I've actually just been refreshing on his book that is a Wall Street Journal best-selling book, by the way. And this guy, Dan Henry, some of you guys maybe know who he is. Some of you guys probably even follow him on YouTube, Instagram. I'm excited to have him on today, and he's going to be sharing some of his top secrets to making money online. And listen, if you don't know who this guy is, you need to know who he is. He's the co-founder of CloseDeals.com. He's made well over $30 million in sales from his own products, his own services that he's selling. He's even had $1 million day. Listen, I've helped some of my own clients, by the way, make $1 million in a day, and there's not many people that can do it. Not many people that can do it, make $1 million in a day selling from stage. That's even harder. So Dan Henry, welcome, my friend, to the show. How's it going?
What's up, Michael? That was a great introduction.
Thanks, man. Love it. Well, I really do have a passion for, what you teach. And I do have a passion for really just the mission that you're on. So welcome to the show, my friend. I'm excited to have you on here. And like I told you off screen, I want today to be the most powerful episode that we've done today. So if you're cool with it, I want to just jump straight into the meat and potatoes of this conversation and really how to make money online and how to sell information. I know that actually, just so you guys know, Dan used to teach people, and usually he would charge tens of thousands of dollars to actually teach what he's about to teach you guys on this conversation. But now he's giving it all away for free on YouTube. I've seen that recently, and you guys can actually go check him out on YouTube. His content is phenomenal. But I want to kind of get into a conversation today to help you guys see how you can go from nothing to something. Nothing to something, because Dan and I, we have a story I feel like that relates. And actually, Dan, I'm going to let you tell a little brief about your story, but I'm going to give you a little insight. This guy went from delivering pizzas to now owning a multi-million-dollar business. And if that doesn't give you any encouragement, I don't know what does. So Dan, I've been talking a lot. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And I'm excited to share. I retired as a coach and consultant to focus on growing a much bigger business. And so, I kind of like the idea of taking the stuff I used to charge for and giving it away for free, because there's a lot of people that, don't have access to a lot of money to get this type of information. And I'm not going to let it just sit there. So that's why I give it away for free. But I think one of the keys here to understanding being able to sell is to understand how powerful it is when you know how to sell. And just to give you a little background on that, a lot of people, I haven't actually told this story before, but a lot of people don't realize how I learned to sell at such a high level. It was actually, it really goes back to when I was a kid. You see, I didn't grow up in a happy home. My parents fought a lot. They would throw things at each other, like even on my birthday. I mean, sometimes the cops got called. They were great people. They just weren't great together.
Right.
And so as a result, I did have, and I was an only child. So I had a lot of trouble in school, got bullied a lot, didn't really develop very good social skills. And I wanted to be pulled out of school because, I had very little friends. And, because I had very little friends, I didn't really get invited to a lot of parties. I had a lot of time to read books. And I learned a lot of cool things that I thought could help a lot of people. But because I had no social skills, no one would listen to me. And, I was just ignored. And I really hate the feeling of being ignored. That's why, like, when I go to conferences, I always take pictures. I always listen to people because I know what it's like to be ignored. And I know what that feels like, and I don't want to make anybody feel that way. But it got to a point where, my father considered pulling me out of school. And in my first close ever, I convinced him to allow me to homeschool myself through this program. It was called American School in Lansing, Illinois, and it was a self-education homeschool program. And I completed high school all on my own, no tutor. My parents didn't even have to teach me. I just read the books and took the tests. Well, this solved the problem of getting bullied in school and all that, but it perpetuated the problem of lacking social skills. And as you know, Michael, one of the top assets you must have in order to be a good salesperson is social skills, and I did not have those. I was not born with a silver tongue. So, I ended up just not being very good at that. And as you mentioned, I delivered pizza for 7 years until one fateful day, I answered an ad on Craigslist. And this ad was for a sales position, a traveling sales position. It offered $50,000 per year, which was a lot back then. But it needed 5 years of sales experience. So I fibbed a little bit on the application because I was desperate to get out of that pizza job. I mean, who delivers pizza for 7 years? It's almost a decade. Well, I somehow, by the grace of whatever miracle, I passed the interview. I get flown up to New Jersey, and it turns out that the company that flew me up was the company, at least what they articulated to me, was where Billy Mays. Do you remember Billy Mays, the OxyClean guy?
Yeah, I remember Billy Mays.
Oh, wait, there's more. That's where he got his start. And my sales manager was his sales manager when he was up and coming. Well, after about a few days, that same sales manager pulls me aside and he says, "Hey, listen, you don't have any sales experience, do you?" And I was like, "No, I don't." And I started gushing about my childhood and all that. It sounded like an idiot, right? And he says, "Listen, we've already paid all this money to bring you up here. Like, you're already here. I promise you one thing. If you read the words on this page, people will buy. People will not only listen to you, but they will buy from you. If you can do that, I'll forget about the fact that you don't have sales experience." So the gig was to sell titanium cookware. It was a cookware set. And what they would do is they would go around to like Sam's Club, Costco, and we'd put on this show. And we were essentially pitchmen, just like the OxyClean guy. So we go to this trial, we did a trial. We went to this club. He showed me how to set up the booth and make it look pretty. He gets on the loudspeaker, on the Sam's Club loudspeaker, and he says, "Attention Sam's Club shoppers. In 5 minutes on aisle 14, we'll be doing a free cooking show. And you'll get a free gift if you stay till the end," right? So about 10 minutes later, about 20 people show up in front of this booth. And I'm sweating, I'm shaking, I'm freaking out, I'm regretting this decision. He looks at me and he goes like this, he mouths the words, he goes, so he said, "Just read the words," but he mouthed it. So I get up there, I turn my brain on, and I literally say what I have been taught to say. And over the next 20 minutes, it was the first time in my life where people actually paid attention to me. And not only did they pay attention to me, but at the end, they gave me money. They bought 5 sets for $500 each. When every other cookware set in that store was about $100, they gave me $500 each. And my commission on that total sale was $250. I did that a total of 4 times that day. I made $1,000 in a day talking, saying words. And that's when I realized that if you just know what words to say and you know how to say them, you can literally make the world bend to your will. All right, that might sound a little villainous, but you can at least make money. And so over the next 10 years, I became obsessed with learning sales, marketing, and I every time I made money, I reinvested it. I would routinely spend I just did it last week. I spent $50,000 on a one-on-one day with a master of the craft. I do this constantly. And I just got so good at it that I was able to continuously level up until eventually I began teaching it. We started a company called GetClients.com, and I did seminars, I did online courses, I did speaking engagements, I did masterminds. and we sold over $30 million worth of my own products and services. I trained my own sales team to sell, so I didn't have to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, I mastered everything I needed to master to get to the level of wealth I needed to get to. Buy my mom a house, my dad a house, my ex-wife a house. This is my home in Costa Rica right now. I have 2 homes in Costa Rica, 3 homes in Florida. And so I retired as a consultant to build my new venture, which is clothesdeals.com, where we actually do the sales for you. We either build you a sales team or take over your existing sales team and manage them, and basically manage your sales team so you don't have to. So that's where I'm at. And what I would love to do is share any possible thing I can about sales in this podcast to help you, because I will tell you the reason why I do it is somewhere there's a kid who no one is listening to, who everyone ignores, and they grow up to be a suppressed adult. And that a suppressed adult likely has a lot of great things to share with the world, but they don't know what to say or how to say it. And I would like to teach them how to do that so that they can experience what I've experienced and change their life and their business. So ask me anything.
Love it, man. Love you. You're a very good storyteller. Did anybody else, if you're listening or watching right now, you could tell this guy's good at his craft just through his storytelling. So I've been reading some of your books. I've been watching your videos for, like I said, several years now. And there's several stories I hear, and this one was one I've never actually heard before. So thanks for sharing that. There was one specifically I wanted to point out, and actually I was watching, a YouTube video, and it was about a time when I believe you were selling for DirecTV. I could be wrong, but you were at a trade show, and it was just like you had this thing click in your brain. So what I want to do was, in this story, by the way, just so everybody knows, this guy, he went ham on sales at this trade show. I think you actually broke records at the trade show, right?
Yeah, I broke the Southeast Regional record for
TV. This is my question for you, because there's a lot of people right now, they're listening to this and they're like, Dan, dude, I'd love to be in sales, but I'm just not a salesperson. And you pretty much just shattered all self-limiting beliefs just moments ago on how you were at the same position they were, but there's still a lot of people that are like, man, I'm just not good at sales. So what are some of the secrets, right? What are some of the things that maybe you found over time? Because that guy, your coach at the time, he told you just read this script, but what are some of you would say the top 3 secrets to really getting good at sales, whether that's in person, online, that people here watching right now, which are entrepreneurs and business owners, can use to ultimately increase their bottom line?
Yeah. So the first thing to realize is that you have absolutely no idea what you sell. Most people think they sell SEO services, agency services, courses, mastermind. That is not what you sell at all. And the fact that you think that's what you sell is the reason why you're not selling enough of it. What you actually sell is certainty. That's what you sell, and that's the only thing you sell. So for instance, Michael, if I had 2 dice in my hand, a red dice and a green dice, and I said to you, we're going to play a game. You got to roll a 7 to win. Now, the red dice are a normal pair of dice. It's random whether or not you roll a 7. You could win 10,000, you could lose 10,000. You could win 20,000, you could lose 30,000, right? And I said, but the green dice are magic dice, okay? The magic green dice, every time you roll it, you win 70% of the time. You don't win every time, but you win 70% of the time. Which dice would you choose?
Yeah, so most people would probably go the safe route, right?
The green dice, right?
Right.
And why is that? It's because you win more times than you lose, correct?
Right. Certainty.
Okay, certainty. So what happens if I say, well, the red dice are free, but the green dice are $1,000 or $10,000? Which would you choose now?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I probably would choose the free one. Most people would choose free. I think I would too.
I don't think that's one of the first times I've heard that, because if you think about it, most people always say the green dice, because if you win 70% of the time, and every time you're playing for $10,000 and it only costs $10,000 to get a magic pair of dice that wins 70% of time, math tells you that it would be worth the investment to roll or to buy the green dice, even though they cost money, because
Gotcha.
you're going to
misunderstood what you were saying there, but I got I'm catching where you're going.
Yeah. So instead of taking the free red dice that's random, right, you spend money on the green dice that ensures that you're certain that you're going to win more times than you lose. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm tracking.
Yes. So why? Why is that? Why does that fact exist? It's because it proves a very simple principle. Human beings value certainty. They put massive value on certainty. It's what makes them sleep at night. If you show up to a helicopter, like you're going to take a helicopter ride somewhere, right? And there's two helicopters. One helicopter is brand new with a professional pilot, looks great. The other helicopter is old rust bucket. The pilot gets out. He's got a bottle of Jack Daniels hanging off of his waistband. He's stumbling. Which helicopter would you choose? You'd choose the nice new one, right? But what if the nice new one was 4 times the price of the cheap one? You'd still likely choose the new one, right? Why? Because you want to get where you want to go without dying.
Yeah, you are
paying more for the same thing because you are more certain that you will get where you need to go. And so what you have to realize is that when you are selling something, you are not selling a service or a product, you are selling certainty. And as soon as you realize you are selling certainty, you begin to speak differently. You begin to talk differently. In fact, sometimes I say something like, I'll say, listen, I don't want you to buy this today if you're buying this many modules, this many videos. I want you to buy this today only if you realize that working with us will get you more results than working without us. And if you truly believe that and you are certain that that is the case, that is how you decide to make your investment. If you are buying 12 modules, then I don't want you to buy. Please, it's not a fit. We don't want to work with that. We want to work with people who are buying because they are certain that they're going to get the result a lot quicker, faster, or more frequently by working with us. When I do that, it completely shifts the belief. And what I try to teach people is not to sell their product, but to sell the certainty that their customer will get what they want. Because they don't actually want your product. They want what your product gets them. They don't want your weight loss course. They want to lose weight. They don't want your make money course. They want to make more money, right? And even furthermore, why do they want to make more money? Well, I want to make more money because I want a bigger house. Well, why do you want a bigger house? Well, because my wife has been complaining to me for 5 years that we need a bigger house and all I've been doing is working and blah, blah, blah. And it really boils down to that person doesn't want their wife to leave. They don't want a course. They don't want their wife to leave. These are the things you got to find out. And so to understand how to sell with certainty, you got to understand that there's 4 reasons why somebody doesn't buy from you. And they're really all the same reason, but they come in 4 different forms. Either they're not certain about your company. They're not certain about you. They're not certain about your product, or the most important one, the one that most people forget, is they're not certain about their ability to use your product. And when you can make them certain on all 4 of those levels, that is where you will make the sale. Most people think sales is about saying this when they say that. And that's just absolutely not true. It's about making them certain on all 4 levels in whatever form that comes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Going back just to refresh, sell the outcome, not the pieces, right? Is that like the first point you were giving?
It is, but it's more not sell the outcome instead of the road or the vehicle, but it's focus on the outcome. For instance, top lending salespeople, top mortgage salespeople, they never talk about the mortgage, they talk about the home. No one wants a mortgage. They want a home. They want, same thing with realtors, right? A good realtor is not going to be like, this is 3,000 square feet. This is the XYZ. They're going to say, this is a beautiful area where you can have Christmas dinner. Do you like to host? Oh, yes, I like to host. Well, what makes hosting a party so amazing to you? Well, I like to invite my mother-in-law over, and she brings her kids, and then my kids get to play with their kids, and then we blah, 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 blah. Well, oh, wow, what makes that so special to you? Well, because when I was a kid, my parents never did that. And and I don't want that to happen to my kids. And next thing you know, you're talking about their childhood and why they want this home and the things that really matter to them, and not how many square feet it is. That is how you sell things, not by talking about the features. Benefits sell, features tell.
Powerful, man. So here's my question. You went on this journey to learn all this information. And I'm pretty sure you got majority of this knowledge of selling from probably experience, right? Just making mistakes, learning. But who would you like attribute a lot of this stuff you learned? Was this like a certain guy you just followed? Was this just a accumulation of stuff? I'm just curious because there's a lot of people right here. They're like, man, I want to learn more about sales. I want to become like Dan and all these other coaches and just entrepreneurs who are making money through sales. But where do you attribute all the information that you learned about this from?
Getting old. I learned a lot from my sales manager, who was the Billy Mays sales manager. And you can't find, I don't even think he's still alive because he was old back then. He's probably dead now. I learned from guys like Kevin Nation, Sam Ovens, Myron Golden. I have friends that I learned a lot from, like Ryan Stewman. Learned some from Russell Brunson. I've read every sales book you could think of. I've a lot of experimentation, studying a lot of people that sell, constantly go. Like, for instance, I just paid $50,000 to Pete Vargas to do a one-on-one day with his team to talk about how to craft like a 45-minute talk. And I invested $50,000 with Myron Golden to learn how to do a talk that lasts 2 days.
Yeah, both great people.
Both great people. I've joined Ovens Mastermind, Brunson's Mastermind. I have relentlessly spent money. And that's the thing, is that, see, most people, and I'm just going to say this, they're absolutely terrified to invest in themselves. They cannot wrap their head around the idea of spending 20, 50 grand to talk to someone for a few hours. And sometimes they can't even, wrap their head around spending $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to do so. And that's just, it shows, like, think of all the things you spend $10,000 on, a car, or if you add up, my God, if you've been smoking for 20 years and you add up all those packs of cigarettes, there's so many things you'll spend all this money on, but you won't spend it on the thing that can liberate you and allow you to buy anything you want. And it's because, can I tell you why this is?
Let's hear it.
It's because we grow up in the American education system. And the American education system, school, was designed to prevent you from being wealthy. Did you know that?
We can obviously, we can see it, right?
No. It's not something it's not an opinion. It is fact. John D. Rockefeller founded and funded the General Board of Education. And when doing so, he said, quote, "I am not in the business of creating a nation of thinkers, artists, or leaders. I'm in the business of creating a nation of workers." Workers do not build wealth. School, at least American education, is designed to teach you how to be a worker, not designed to teach you how to build wealth. So you grow up your whole life in a system that is designed to keep you poor, and then you go out into the world and you think, well, wait a minute, this situation, that situation, here's a situation where I can invest. You're programmed not to think those things are the right choice. You are programmed to be scared to do those things. And thus you don't do them, and thus you stay poor. So that's just like a little, sidebar.
No, I agree. There's so many. So you're attributing a lot of your success in sales to investing in yourself, not being afraid to invest in yourself. And like the ROI on you investing in yourself is probably infinite, right? You can.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a perfect example, right? I did okay selling from stage just from reading books, but I had an event coming up, and I wasn't an expert, so I gave Myron, I think it was like 50 grand, and he showed me some cool stuff on selling from stage. I went out and I had 158 people in the room. I used a few of the tweaks that he mentioned, and I did $1,020,000 in a day off 158 people. Now you could think of this situation in two different ways. You could think, well, Dan, you spent 50 grand just to talk to someone for a little bit. That's insane. Okay. And that's how a poor person thinks. Or You could say, Dan, you figured out a way to turn 50,000 into 1,020,000. And that's the way a rich person thinks. So
Mm,
it's all about your perspective and in the lens in which you see the world.
man, I love it. Love it. So here's a question I have, and a lot of people pose to me. They're like, Michael, is there a difference? And this is maybe a question you can answer. Is there a difference between selling online and selling in person? Is there certain techniques you should implement? Like, I think I know the answer, but I want you to answer it and just kind of hear your thoughts. It's like, what's the difference between selling online and selling on stage in person? Because there's a lot of people right now that are watching this and they're like, I'm introverts, or maybe there's some that are like, hey, I just want to learn how to sell from my house, right? From my home. So like,
Well,
what's your thoughts on
I'm
that?
not interested in giving to advice to people who have self-imposed limitations like I'm an introvert, okay? I mean, I could say I'm XYZ. It's just you're just finding reasons to not be successful. Sam Ovens has made 8 figures, like $20 million or whatever, and he's the ultimate introvert. Like, so you're an introvert. So what? Here, let me find a cookie to give to you. Okay, like who cares, right? Just do it anyway. I mean, look, we're trying to make millions here. I don't want to hear your excuses about being an introvert. Like let's get past that and let's get to work. That's the way I view it. But that said, is there a difference between selling online or selling in person or whatever? I don't think there is a difference to selling online in person or selling yourself as a potential dating partner. It's all the same. All you're doing is increasing someone's level of certainty to the point in which they will invest, whether that's their money, their time, or their intimacy. That's all you're doing. So to give you an example, right? All the tactics and the techniques that I've used to sell, I've used multiple times in multiple formats: stage, email, ads, webinars, video sales letters, in person. And here's how to view that, right? Imagine there's a songwriter who writes a hit song. And when the hit song comes out, it's using an electric guitar, it's using drums, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that hit song can also be played on a piano. It can also be played on an acoustic guitar in an unplugged situation. I mean, how many times did you see Nirvana do like an unplugged concert and other famous bands? The truth is the song itself is good, but the medium in which you play the song can be different, but the song is still the song. Sometimes you put distortion on the song. Sometimes you do it on a piano. Sometimes you do it on an acoustic guitar. Sometimes you do it a cappella, but the truth is it's the same song. It's just presented through a different instrument. That instrument could be a webinar, it could be a VSL, it could be a selling from stage, it could be long, it could be short. That is how you have to think about it. So when you develop your core sales pitch, it can permeate any form. And when you think of it that way, you get out of the weeds of being an internet marketer and out of the weeds of tactics, and you learn something that is far more powerful than tactics, and that is strategy. And if you've ever read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, you'll know that to be true.
Love it. Thanks for the clarification there. And guys, I hope you're enjoying this conversation because this is just real, raw, and literally, Dan, thank you for just being real and just kind of out there with people, because there's a lot of people that sugarcoat stuff, and I love that you're not. You're just kind of throwing it out there, giving your thoughts. That's where you learn the best, is when you get real and vulnerable here. So thank you guys.
When people say, I want to make millions, I want to sell, but I'm this, I'm that. Well, why are you here? Why are you even in the room? Why are you in the conversation? Like, you're trying to do something here, but you're making excuses people make that are here. Unless you're willing to come to here and get to work, then just get out of the conversation, get out of the room. Nobody has time for you. Like, maybe somebody who's going to pander to your excuses, but no one can help you. You can. One thing I learned from Grant Cardone, I just spent 2 days with Grant Cardone. He invited 50, I don't know if you heard about this, but he invited 50 of the world's best online entrepreneurs into one room. He spent $1 million on the event. He fed us, he gave us alcohol, he took us on his $7 million helicopter, took us on a $150 million yacht, didn't charge us a dime. He just wanted to collaborate and learn from us. And I was one of those entrepreneurs, which I was very humbled and to get that invite. Pete Vargas actually gave me that invite. And one of the things that he said that I thought was just, amazing. Well, he said a lot of things that are amazing. Like, whatever the universe gives you, lean in. But one of the things he said, which I just forgot because we were talking about something, and then I moved to that. What was the question you had? Let me remember.
We were talking about limitations, and you were talking about rising up to, a lot of people are thinking down here, but they need to rise up. And so that was kind of where we were going. And we were talking about being real and vulnerable.
I forgot the example I was going to give, but he basically said, like, whatever the universe gives you, you lean into it, right? Whatever the universe gives you. Like, he had a hurricane happen. They had to evacuate his sales office. So he literally grabs a video camera, video guy, and he like puts a raincoat over his head, and he's like, there's a hurricane coming, we're doing a hurricane sale, there's 50% off all these books, get them before they drown or whatever. And it's just, you gotta use what the universe gives you. And you can make you can have excuses or you can have money, but you can't have both.
Wow, that's so true. It's so true. Yeah. Say that one more time.
So just cut the excuses, man. Like what are we doing here? You're going to die inside of 80 years. Stop making excuses and get to work.
Love it. So like, I hear the passion coming out when you're talking about this. Is that something you live by every day? Like, what are some of the core things? Because obviously you've made a lot of money, right? You made a lot of money. People would say, Dan, he's reached the top, right? He's reached the American dream. He's there. What drives you? What drives you, man? And like, what are some of the core values you live by? I'm just curious because I can hear this passion coming out of you.
Yeah. So the core values I live by is, to me, when you know how to do something and you know how to do it well, and especially when you have the ability to teach it or do it for or whatever, it's kind of like your duty to do so. Like. I'll give you a perfect example. I was going to retire. I had all the money that I needed. I have investments. I was going to retire. I didn't want to coach anymore. I didn't. And I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons I didn't want to teach anymore is because when somebody pays you money to teach them how to do something, and then they don't do their part, you kind of have to be nice to them and like do this whole customer service thing. Though I was always never like that. I was very direct. I would tell, if you weren't coachable, I'd be like, listen, you are not coachable. You are making excuses. I cannot do this for you. I can't stick my hand up your ass into your mouth and work your face like a puppet and make you do what I'm telling you to do. You have to meet me halfway. And, when you give stuff away for free, you can just bow out if people aren't listening. So I do enjoy my retirement from coaching, but I was going to retire fully. And then I had a catch-up call with Alex Hormozi. We talked for like 2 hours. We talked about life, dating, all this stuff. And he's like, so what do you got going on? I said, nothing. I'm out. I'm done. I'm whatever, right? And he's like, man, you really don't want to do anything, And I was like, no. And then he's like, we talked, and he basically said, well, why don't you you taught people how to sell, right? You built a sales. Why don't you just do that for people? Like, why don't you just take what you're doing and instead of teaching it, why don't you build a team that will do it for people, that will sell? So, I have 1,200 people that bought a $10,000 program that taught them how to sell their products and services for a high ticket price. That's $12 million I made from that one program. All those people, they need sales reps because at a certain point, you need to get off the phone. You need to take care of your children. You need to go on vacation. You can't do that if you are the one on the phone all day selling your product. So you need a salesperson and then eventually a sales team to scale. And most people, they barely know how to sell, let alone how to find and train, let alone how to manage. And that's the key is management. You can find a great closer, but if you don't manage them and you don't constantly motivate them, like most people don't know what goes behind that. Daily huddles, objection drills, filling out end of day reports. You should have seen in Grant Cardone's office, they came out at the beginning of the day. And it was like Wolf of Wall Street. The different departments would be like, from the Cardone Capital Department, we did $534 in investments today. And they're like, and from the Education Department, we did $135,000 today. And it's just a spectacle, right? And it keeps people motivated. Most people almost all people don't do that. And they think it's stupid or it's unnecessary, But it's like, when do you see a winning football team that wins the freaking Super Bowl not have like, when do they not have a halftime talk with their team? When do they not motivate their team? And these are professional football players, many with multiple rings. When do they not motivate them? You don't think you need to motivate your sales team, or you don't know how, or you don't want to, or you don't have time. And so what he said was, why don't you do that for these same people that you taught how to sell? Why don't you help them build their sales team and manage them? And so that's, and I like the idea for two reasons. One, because I didn't have to actually do anything. I could build a team to do it. And number two, I could do the one thing that I love doing, and that's releasing content, talking, speaking, doing YouTube videos, and giving what I know away for free. And so to me, it's my legacy. Like, whatever you buy from me, don't buy from me, it's not going to change my life. I'm gonna wake up in the same house. I'm gonna drive the same cars. I'm gonna go on the same vacation. Whether or not you or anybody or whatever buy from me, it doesn't change my life, but it could change theirs. But what won't change is the fact that if I give a lot of my information away for free, right? And it's not just that I give that information away for free, hope that people take it, use it, and then hire us to take over their sales team. It's not just that. It's when I die, I know that I will have done something. I will have left my mark on the world where I'm worm food. People will say, wow, that Dan Henry guy really helped me. Wow, he did this, he did that. So for me, it's really about passing on knowledge, because at the end of the day, past eating, sleeping, and pooping, what does a human really do past their cycle of life? They pass on knowledge. And without passing on knowledge, knowledge dies. So that's why I do it.
Man, every time you speak, bro, there's just so much like gold nuggets that come out. Because I actually was going to get into asking you a little bit how you went, because you mentioned earlier about how you trained your own sales team. So I actually was going to go into asking some questions about that, but you hit the nail on the head. And I feel like you gave a lot of just insight into what other people maybe should reevaluate in their life, because there's a lot of people that are doing this for the wrong reasons. They're trying to build a business. They're trying to get into entrepreneurship maybe for the wrong reasons, but you need to find out why you're doing it.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's fantastic to do it for the wrong reasons, because then I get to kick your ass. I don't want, why do I want people to no, I'm just kidding.
No, you're cool. So I really want to dive into this conversation. I don't want to take all the time in the world, but I really find it very unique that you have really, really, I guess, built a name in sales, because it's very hard to get good at sales. I think it's a lot of people give up too soon in sales, we should say. I don't know, maybe you would say something different, but I feel like a lot of people don't take the time and experience to invest in themselves. So my question is, when it comes to building a sales team, you just talk about motivating people, right? But there's a lot of people in here, maybe they're at a point to where they need to hire a sales team, and maybe they're afraid of letting go. I don't know what they're dealing with, but what are some keys, some gold nuggets you would give to people that maybe are willing to and are about to hire their own sales team? What are some advice you would give to them to building that out efficiently?
Wow, that is a very, very large question. There's so much to cover there. I'm actually right now writing. I just finished I'm writing 3 books, and they're actually little booklets. Like, I don't know if you've ever read this book, It Works, the famous little red book that makes your dreams come true. It's kind of a cool book, but it's just a little pocket guide, right? So I'm writing 3 pocket guides, because in order to make create a multi-million-dollar company that runs without you, you need 3 things. You need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to find and train someone to sell for you. And you need to learn how to manage that person or those people to keep selling for you so you don't have to, and scale your company. Those are the 3 things you need to learn. And I'm writing a book, a pocket guide on each one. I just finished the first one, How to Sell. And so when it comes to management, there's a lot of like points in there, right? There's KPIs. There's things like, how many calls did you take? How many offers did you make? How many people showed up? What are the standard metrics? What do you do to fix each one of these points? So there's a lot of like technical stuff in there, which I'm going to put in those guides. But one thing that I think is important to mention is knowing when it's your fault and when it's your closer's fault, right? Many times you'll have a closer who's actually pretty good. And this is where the management comes in, right? they'll be pretty good, but because they're not closing the deal, you will think that they have a problem and you'll try to solve a problem that doesn't exist, when in reality it could be a problem with your marketing. It could be a problem with your nurture process once someone becomes a lead, in between that and when they get on the phone. It could be a variety of things. And if you demotivate your closer because you don't understand the actual reason why, you now are going to make the situation worse. Because number one, you're not fixing the problem that actually needs to be solved, and you are you're making the closer, you're putting the closer in a poor frame of mind, right? Now, I'm not saying that the closer never has an issue, but this is just one example, right? And if you know how to look at your KPIs and you know how to look at the metrics and you know how to run the equations, you can tell right away if it's a problem with the closer or if it's a problem with something else that happens outside of the closer's scope. And in those pocket guides, I'll be showing those equations and those KPIs to be able to calculate what situation to do what. But a lot of times with closers, it is a matter of motivation. It is, how many times have you seen a football team, like look at Tom Brady, how many times have you seen a team down and then they do a motivational speech at halftime and they come back out and they kick ass, But how do you do that? How do you motivate them? How do you get inside their head and motivate them to crush sales for the day? Look, it's a lot to be a founder. It's a lot to create a great product that people love. Then it's a lot to market it and build a brand and relate to people. Now you got to learn how to sell, and you got to learn how to manage and hire, and you got to learn how to motivate, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot, man. And the more time you spend doing that, the less time you spend being a founder and growing your business. And so what I would say is, and I'm not trying to make a pitch here for my own stuff, but one thing I learned, right, is that great entrepreneurs do not know how to do cool things. They know how to find and leverage people that know how to do cool things. For instance, I suck at operations. I absolutely am atrocious. I'm great at selling. I'm great at teaching. I'm great at training. I suck at operations. And for years, I struggled to learn. I read Rocket Fuel. I read all those books, right? Still sucked. And the truth is, that's just not a natural strength of mine. So when I started CloseDeals.com, I started with my partner, Phil Bohol, and who I'm CRO, which is Chief Revenue Officer. He's COO, Chief Operations Officer. Once I handed the operations reins over to him, everything ran smoothly. I don't even know what he does. I do not care. I don't give a shite what he does. He just gets things done, and I am left to stay in my zone of genius and to make great marketing. The YouTube videos I've been putting out are better than any YouTube videos I've ever done. We're at 40x return on ad spend with our Facebook ads right now, not because I am better at Facebook ads or whatever than I used to be. It's just because I have more time to actually focus on making them great and thinking of cool stuff and then doing cool stuff, right? And then having the team implement it. And the thing is that if you like stay within your zone of genius, you partner with someone to do that, then you're going to grow. But sadly, like for instance, if you hire a corporate sales manager, you're going to pay $250,000 to $250,000 a year. That's like 16 grand a month. Okay. And then you're going to have to give them overrides, right? You're going to have to give them overrides on the sales. So it's going to be very, very expensive. So that's why we created our product. We charge a fraction of that, and we don't take a percentage of sales. We charge a flat rate. So it gives people who are smaller an opportunity to have a sales team that can grow their business without having to pay or have the infrastructure that a professional sales team would normally cost.
Did you say you only charge a flat fee? That's very interesting.
Yep, we do not charge a percentage of sales.
I've never heard of that, by the way, people. And I'm in this industry of coaching. I've never heard of a sales team coming in for a flat fee. So that's pretty interesting. Well, maybe there are, but
I want to build this to a $100 million company. And I consider myself a 1% person, a 1% entrepreneur. And if you want to be a 1% entrepreneur, then you cannot do what 99% of people are doing if you want to be 1%.
Love it.
Did you know you only have to make $42,000 a month to be in the 1%?
42,000?
Yep, and you are in the 1%. And if you want to be in the 0.01%, then it goes up from there. But dude, if you have a $10,000 product and we help you sell 4 or 5 of them a month, call it 6 for expenses, you are now in the 1%, right? You are in the 1%. You are a 1%er. And the thing is, look, 99% of people want to tax the 1%. Only 1% of people want to become the 1%. And you cannot achieve what you are offended by. So that's another thing that Grant Cardone taught us at that thing. He said, you always resent what will get you to the next level, right? So if you resent handing the reins over and letting someone else handle your sales, that's what's going to get you to the next level. If you resent putting yourself out there and building a personal brand, that's what's going to get you to the next level. If you resent raising your prices because you think you shouldn't for whatever dumb reason, that's going to get you to the next level. What will get you to the next level is usually what you currently resent.
So the question is, what are we resenting right now that's stopping us, that we're limiting ourselves with, right? So what is stopping you right now?
That's a personal question.
Right, personal question. Well, I have a few things here. You've already told people closedeals.com, right? That's the site right now they can go to. But you mentioned these pocket guides. Where can people go to get those? I'm just curious. I'm going to probably pick up a few myself. So where can people go to get those pocket guides just to learn a little bit more about sales?
So it's going to be closedeals.com/books. That's closedeals.com/books. All of our pocket guides will be listed there. It takes me about a week to write one. I just wrote the first one. I'm writing one on how to sell, how to hire and train, how to manage, how to overcome objections. I'm writing a marketing pocket guide. It's because I have time to now, right? So over the next several weeks, I'll be writing more and more of those pocket guides. By the time this podcast is released, you should be able to buy the sales one. And I'm not, I don't know, I'll charge $20, $30 for it, maybe less. I don't know, but whatever. If it's not worth 20 or $30 to you, then you shouldn't be in this game anyway. They'll all be at closedeals.com/books. But if you are still waiting for those guides, or you just don't have said 20 or $30, you can go on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dan Henry, where I currently upload tons of videos of tactics from my $10,000 sales and marketing program we call it Digital Millionaire Coaching. But we upload that to YouTube. I also do 60-second tutorials on my Instagram at Dan Henry. So there's just content for free everywhere. And my hope is that you'll take that content, you will use it, you will get to a position where you do need a sales team, then you'll have us take over. Or if you don't, that's fine too. Just tell people about it. Our community is called Close Nation. So if you want to be a valued member of Close Nation, just spread the word. But that would be, again, 90% value. I want to give 90% value before I ask for a dime.
Got it. I love it, man. And you've given plenty of value here today, and I'm sure our guest or our audience will say the same thing. So here's one last question. I want to get out of your hair here. I know you're a busy guy. You're living it up in Costa Rica. So one last question for you, man. Where do you see Dan Henry like when you look 10? I just like asking this question to people that are in the 1% or probably 0.1%, right? The 0.01%. Where do you see Dan Henry in like 10 to 15 years from now? What does that life look like for you, man? I'm just curious.
Michael, that's a great question. Here's the thing. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because you today is going to be a completely different human being than you 5 years from now, let alone 10 years from now. So whatever BS I can come up with in my head about where I want to be, I highly doubt that is going to be within the same alignment as whoever I will be in 5 years. I will learn new things. I will see new opportunities. So I don't really try to, and maybe this is because I'm from Florida and we just live our lives kind of moment by moment, but you're talking to a Floridian. I just go with the flow, man. Whatever happens, happens. I have general ideas. Like I would love to be able to teach my son jujitsu, and as well, if he's interested, entrepreneurship. I would love to, I'm divorced, and that was the most devastating thing that's ever happened in my life. I'd love to be with a good woman, and have that intimate relationship back. I'd love to make sure that my son is knowledgeable, taken care of. I'd love to make sure that my parents are still taken care of. But if you boil it down to what will I be doing, what exactly will my life look like, I have no idea. I just hope that I'm happy and that I'm making others happy, and whatever form that comes is whatever it comes. And I try not to control life that much, but just let it happen.
Hey, that's not a bad thing, and I appreciate your answer. And I knew there was something different about you. I knew maybe it was just the Florida thing. I don't know.
1%, man. 1% entrepreneur.
I'm just messing with you. No, we love the Florida.
Oh yeah, definitely Florida. Yeah, definitely Florida. That's what's off with me.
That's what's off with you, man. You Google. Some of you guys may be Googling on.
You give a Floridian money.
Florida man does this. It's probably Dan. So.
I am definitely. We actually, when I was a kid, we would play with alligators. We would play grab the alligator tail. That's
crazy. My mom actually, whenever she was a kid, she had her family was in Florida, and so she actually about got ate by. She was like a toddler. About got ate by an alligator. A whole different story, but you guys are living dangerously, man. I wouldn't be doing that stuff.
Alligators are actually pretty docile. You just they're not that aggressive compared to like a crocodile. Now, a crocodile you do not want to mess with. You need to run. But
anyway, we'll have another segment one day where we'll bring in Dan to give you guys some lessons on animals of Florida. So make sure you tune in. Love it. Well, thanks, Dan. Really, thanks you, man, for coming on here. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge just on sales. And listen, I really do encourage everybody that's watching this or listening, go follow Dan. Go check out closedeals.com if you need help in your sales force, in your business. I'm sure that he has the YouTube, the Instagram. He's everywhere. This guy literally is dropping content daily. So go in there, plug in somehow, whether it's through the book he mentioned, the Flip book, whether it's through actually using his sales, program and services, or is just connecting online. So Dan, I just want to thank you again, my friend, for coming on here and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. But we really appreciate you.
Hey, bro, thank you so much, and I hope to do it again soon.
Anytime. Well, guys, just remember, we host these every single week. $1 Million Secrets podcasts are just for you. And I'm going to be honest, we bring on people just like Dan. We bring on some people that are totally different from Dan because we want you guys to see how people are finding success in entrepreneurship and business in the multiple different facets. Listen, entrepreneurship, there's not one single way to making money. There's many different ways, but we want to show you and reveal some of the top secrets of the elite. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you right here next week. God bless you guys.